Samaje Bruce, IBCOC, Breastfeeding Program Coordinator for the Las Vegas Urban League WIC, and Director for the Las Vegas Milk Depot San Jose Mother's Milk Bank. I have been in the profession of lactation since 2008, supporting and educating women during their breastfeeding journeys. As a director for the Milk Depot, today I will be sharing important information about milk banking and milk donation. Let's jump right into it. What does the milk bank do? So as a nonprofit organization with about 16 other milk banks across the United States, milk banks are similar to what blood banks do. They ask women to donate their breast milk, they process the milk and screen the donors, and the milk is directly shipped to babies and families in their homes or the hospital. Preterm infants and infants going through major surgeries are the most in need of donor milk. Now, a woman would not be suitable to become a donor if she uses illegal drugs, uses tobacco products or smokes, has received a blood transfusion or blood products in the last 4 months, has received an organ or tissue transplant in the last 12 months, regularly has more than 2 ounces of alcohol per day, has a positive blood test for HIV, HTLV, hepatitis B or C or syphilis, or her sexual partner is at risk for HIV. If she's been in the United Kingdom for more than 3 months between the years 1980 to 1996, or has been in Europe for more than 5 years between the years 1980 to present. Now, all donors undergo a screening process that begins with a short telephone interview. Donor mothers must be in good health. And when she's ready to prepare her milk, she needs to store her breast milk by using clean techniques, guidelines by HIMBANA, which is Human Milk Banking Association of North America. The guidelines suggest the mom should follow the manufacturer's directions to keep her breast pump clean and operational. When she expresses her milk to donate, she will freeze the milk as soon as possible, date the container, and add her donor ID to the outside of the container. Use a breast milk bag or breast milk storage container. It must be sealed and frozen. Glass containers and plastic bottles are fine as long as they are cleaned after every use. Her milk can be kept in a home freezer for up to 4 months. It must be less than 6 months old and deeply frozen. To deep freeze milk, it must be kept in the back of the freezer where it's cold enough for like ice cream to remain solid. Or some donors use a separate deep freezer. HIMBANA donor guidelines screen mothers with a triple screen: a personal interview, physician statements, and blood testing. So your healthcare provider will provide statements on your medical history. Serological screening has required screenings, a standard screening, and an optional diagnostic test. Upon findings, there can be a permanent deferral, a temporary deferral, or results are inconclusive. So reasons for deferral would be use of medication or some medications, herbal use, travel restrictions, history of or a partner with hepatitis B or C, a transfusion at birth, the provider has an alert, a positive diagnostic test, blood test, or a positive screening blood test, or if she's a smoker of any kind. The inconclusive results can come from answers varying, refusal to answer all the questions, incomplete screenings, or vague results on the blood exam. Here you see me collecting milk from a donor mom there during COVID, masked up 6 feet apart. She was so generous to provide her milk. I am responsible for packing and shipping the milk to the milk bank. This is where it counts. So next, we're going to start talking about the process. So once I ship the milk to the bank, it goes through this process. First step, scrubbing. Each pasteurization team member thoroughly scrubs his or her hands with antimicrobial soap before putting on gloves. Gloves are always used when handling the human milk as a part of the pasteurization process. Second, human milk is poured. So human milk from donor mom is carefully transferred from its original storage container to glass flasks. Third, each pool, this comes to the mixing and pooling part, but each pool, which will usually include human milk from 3 to 5 donor moms, this is thoroughly mixed to ensure an even distribution of human milk components. Filling bottles. 4 to 8 ounce bottles are filled with human milk prior to pasteurization. Pasteurization happens with the Holder method. The human milk is gently heated in the Holder method of pasteurization. Pasteurization eliminates bacteria while retaining the majority of human milk's beneficial components. And the final step, the sixth step is testing, lab testing. Human milk samples are taken during the pasteurization process and cultured to check for bacterial growth. Any contaminated human milk is discarded. And then final step, excuse me, the pasteurized donor human milk is now ready for freezing and storage. It can be dispensed after samples are cultured and show no bacterial growth. Pasteurized donor human milk is shipped frozen overnight to hospitals and individual recipients' homes. NICU. Now, how great is the need for donor milk? NICU is the neonatal intensive care unit. And studies have looked at NICUs across the country and found out about 30% of NICUs utilize donor milk. Mom's milk is number one, of course, but donor milk definitely is second best. When sending donor milk, milk banks prioritize by medical need. Infants most at medical risk in NICU settings who are very fragile and premature are a priority. Well over 500,000 ounces have been distributed to infants and children. Mother's Milk Bank provides processed donated breast milk to probably more now than 114 hospitals. Mother's Milk Bank continues to receive orders from more hospitals weekly. There is scientific evidence that breast milk and donor milk is the optimal nutrition choice for the most fragile and vulnerable infants in the NICU. Physicians are ordering donor human milk for infants who are in medical need in other hospital units, as well as at discharge, so they can be home with their families. If someone wants to get donor milk, it is required by law that the doctor provide a prescription. If a family has an infant in NICU, it is the responsibility of the hospital to purchase the donor milk if requested. If your mom is requesting to obtain donor milk through her insurance, the milk bank will need to assess the type of insurance company and plan that she has. That process can be started by calling 1-877-375-6645. Donating through COVID. This is a difficult time, and like so many other organizations, businesses, and individuals, the Human Milk Banking Association of North America, also known as HMBANA, is quickly gaining information and guidance for COVID-19. HMBANA is working closely with the Food and Drug Administration and Centers for Disease Control to optimize safety and to work diligently to ensure there's no interruption in the supply of safe donor human milk. Milk banks provide an essential service. They continue working through the pandemic and understand that the highest priority action is to increase donor screening and pasteurization activities to ensure that fragile babies have access to life-saving milk. During this pandemic, it is paramount to procure and process milk as rapidly as possible to safeguard our supply. Downloadable information on why donor human milk is an essential need during COVID-19 and milk handling for COVID-19 positive or suspected Mothers in the hospital setting can be found at hemdana.org and or the milk banking information at mothersmilk.org. The Las Vegas Urban League, we are hosting a virtual donor drive drop off event. So donations are always welcomed. You too can help Almost Vulnerable by becoming a Milk Warrior Donor Mom today. Be registered for our upcoming virtual donor drive drop-off event by calling the same number, 1-877-375-6645. For Spanish, select option 4. The event takes place on Saturday, August 29th from 8 a.m. to noon at the Las Vegas Urban League WIC office, address 3320 East Flamingo Road, Suite 50, zip code 89121. We hope to see you there. We have gifts for our donors, gift bags, t-shirts, gift cards, and more. Don't forget your mask. Here are a couple of photos of our past milk warriors that have lovingly contributed to vulnerable infants across our nation. We do have a hospital here locally that does order donor milk, St. Rose, Dignity Health. They do utilize donor breast milk, so breast milk does come home back to Nevada. Here are a few more moms, our milk warriors. Awesome. All right. Thank you for your continued support to better our community and nation. I also want to thank the San Jose Milk Bank for trusting my leadership with the Las Vegas Depot for 4 years running now. I also want to thank the Las Vegas Urban League, Southern Nevada Breastfeeding Coalition, the Sisterhood for the continued support during Black Breastfeeding Week. Happy Black Breastfeeding Week 2020.